You're wet. You're wet. Our connection is weak. There's nothing we can do. Yep. Good morning, Tammy. Nice to see you're with us this morning. Hi, Eva. Okay, so Spaniels and I are here kind of barely. Hugh was nice enough to share whatever he's got. I'm from Spain. God, I love you guys. So I think Hugh, he's sort of better, not really, kind of. Hi, Renee. And are we snowed in? No, but it is snowing finally. When I woke up this morning, it was just an absolute downpour, and then it sleeted for a while. Now it's actually snowing. But I came home from work last night with a sore throat, and now I'm miserable. So Hugh just drugged me out of bed and said, you have to go talk to people. So the Spaniels and I were enjoying snuggling. I think we're going to go back there for a while. However, later today they extended the schedule for move-in for the expo for this weekend. So we have until 8 o'clock tonight. So if it stops snowing, which it's supposed to stop pretty early, and the weather gets decent, then we are going to head up. Somebody just said it was 74 degrees. Oh, man, rub it in. So last year at this time, Hugh and I, are you okay? Last year at this time, Hugh and I were in the Caribbean. I don't know, somehow we just, the year before, it was so cold and snowy that we said we are not doing this again. And so we went online and we just started booking places in the Caribbean. And so last year we actually spent a little over 3 weeks. We went to 3 different islands and never saw the February snow. It was a wonderful thing. Too busy to do that this year. And with my mom having cataract surgery, we just didn't know whether that was all going to work. So maybe Hugh and I will sneak down one weekend because I really hate cold weather and I hate feeling like this. And when I look in the mirror, all I have is really, really, really pale skin. Okay, so nice of husbands to share, yeah. So I didn't have a great topic. The video that we did yesterday that got disappeared by Facebook, it just ate it. It would have been nice. We used some copyrighted music at the beginning, and we didn't realize that would, I figured if you use something copyrighted over and over on a commercial page, they would tell you to stop doing it. But no, they just ate the video and won't give it back because I thought, well, we could just shorten the first couple of minutes. Yeah, not happening. So I did write, hi, Kitty, that's Star. So I did write a blog yesterday about what we had talked about, which was puppy and kitten vaccinations. So if you haven't seen it, that blog is on the Facebook page. So you can read kind of my thoughts on that and what I had talked about yesterday. And I understand, I understand, I can't zinc. I don't know what that says, Hayla. Yeah, I've been taking zinc and drinking a lot of lavender tea, so we'll see what happens. But I understand that not everybody's going to be able to use a protocol like that. Some people want to get their, puppies and kittens out the door sooner. People don't want to wait for their puppies and kittens. And yesterday I had a new puppy in the office. It was a little corgi. It was really cute, but it came from a puppy mill in Pennsylvania. Luckily, it only had 2 vaccines before they got it. But that's really only because they got it really early because it had vaccines at 5 weeks and 7 weeks. Yay. But the people did wait another 5 weeks before they came in, so he's not getting vaccinated as much as some would. So for anybody who is going to be in the area this weekend, we will be at Edison at the Super Pet Expo, and I'll be danged if I have an address. It is on the Facebook page. It is at the New Jersey Convention and Exposition Center in Edison. On Friday, I will be speaking from 4 to 5 on food is the foundation of life, understanding pet food. So that's, we all know that's one of my favorite topics, to talk about the bad things that are in there. And we're actually going to cook. Well, they want us to cook a meal on stage, but there's no way I can get a meal prepared and cooked in an hour, especially with a crock pot. So we'll have a grinder and a crock pot, and we'll put things together, but I can't actually cook it. So then Saturday at 1 p.m., I am speaking on cats are not small dogs, feeding cats appropriately, from 1 to 2. So, and we will do a home-cooked meal for kitty cats as well. So those of you who are concerned about your kitties, that would be a good thing to come here. And then on Sunday, from 1 to 2, it will be yin and yang theory of food, kind of similar to some of the webinars that I produced back in 2013, but we'll actually be cooking a meal. I think we're going to do a warming stew because it's going to be cold this weekend. And then from 3 to 4, we're going to talk about treating disease using food therapy. So I've picked a few different, you need a pressure cooker. I just got one and I love it. I've never cooked with a pressure cooker. And you want to know why? Whoops, kitty. I've never cooked with a pressure cooker because I just remember as a child, and so we're going back to the 60s, and my mother talked about pressure cookers and, horrible stories about how they explode and that sort of thing. So I have this innate fear of pressure cookers, but I know a lot of people do use them and really like them. So maybe someday. Hugh has more kitchen gadgets than you can imagine. Our kitchen and pantry are just jam-packed with all the little appliances and gadgets that you can imagine. And he's actually never asked for a pressure cooker. So, yep, he's shaking his head. Good. That's one I don't have to put in the pantry. I mean, we are just jam-packed. And he actually got rid of a lot of stuff when we moved, and we had to downsize some stuff because we had to combine my mom's stuff too, although we didn't keep much of her stuff. Okay, so something I wanted to talk about today, on my post where a couple days ago I talked about having been at the expo over the weekend, and I said that I wasn't a big fan of Bravecto, that's putting it mildly, and NexGard and Simparica and those things. And then it got picked up by a Florida news station. Don't ask me how that happened, because I didn't even go back in and tag it as having Bravecto in it, but it happened. I don't know if somebody sent it to him. I don't know how he got it. But so that was on a TV news station and generated a lot of conversation. And of course, there are people who are coming to the defense of the drugs because they use them. They've never had a problem. They're wonderful, blah, blah, blah. They scare me too much. There's no way I'm going to do a trial with any of those drugs on my dogs or my patients. But I know that some people do use them. But, it's kind of the same thing with food. There are some people that feed the absolute worst, horrible stuff on the shelves, and their dogs live to be 15, 16 years old. Why? I don't know. I can only attribute it to good genetics. I don't know. But there's an awful lot of dogs who don't do well on really poor diets and all the chemicals. So, for me, I'm not willing to take the risk. These are my kids. I'm not willing to take the risk. I'm going to give them the best of the best. But it was very interesting. Someone who is also anti-chemicals posted a link to an article on my feed under the Bravecto thing. And it was an article from, I want to say 2007 or 2009. I can't quite remember. Maybe even 10. It was when the ProHeart 6, the moxidectin injection, was pulled off the market. And there was a veterinarian who spoke out. I don't want that crap on my dog or in them. Yeah, thanks. There was a veterinarian who worked for the FDA who spoke out about the ProHeart 6. And she said, whoa, wait, way too many dogs are dying. And she worked for the FDA, so she rose a red flag with the FDA. And she said, I think we need to look at this more seriously. I think this drug needs to be withdrawn. I think we made a mistake. And the woman was harassed to the point where she basically lost her job. And she got lucky she was rehired by another division of the FDA. But so this was someone who was willing to risk everything to speak out. And the way that she lost her job was something that really didn't have anything to do with the fact that she was speaking out. But people started digging and digging, and they found a little tiny bit of dirt that was just the most minuscule thing in the world that they could use against her to get her job taken away from her. And they really tried to sabotage her career. And so I think the person posted it on my page, on my feed, as a warning to me, like, are you sure that you want to speak out against these companies? And, I have gotten nastygrams from lawyers with pet food companies in the past. Susan Thixton gets threats. She gets nastygrams. Rodney Habib gets nastygrams and legal threats and, shady characters hanging around. These big companies have a lot of money. They have a lot of lawyers, certainly more than we have, and they will try to shut us down when we speak out against them. The Facebook page, Does Bravecto Kill Dogs? I think they even changed the title now, Does Bravecto Side Effects or something. Jane Lister, if she's listening, she'll post it. But they were threatened. The admins on that page were threatened. And, the thing is, are we going to allow ourselves to be shut down by these big companies? Sometimes there comes a point, if you feel for your safety or, you are worried about losing your livelihood completely, it can become a big problem. But as long as I can speak out, I will. As long as I can educate you, I will. I have some pretty big fears about some things that I've posted over the last couple of months. One, the lawsuit against the prescription pet food companies. It's a class action lawsuit because there's nothing prescription about those. There's nothing that is a medication with those diets. Why do you need a prescription? Why do you need to pay a higher price because it's a prescription diet? There's no proof that these things actually even work. I can design a home-cooked diet that will give your dog better health. Good morning, Australia. Thanks for checking in. Thanks for your honesty. Well, I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe the pet food companies are all correct, and maybe the drug companies are all correct, and maybe all their stuff is perfectly safe. I don't believe it. So I'm going to, we're all entitled to opinions, so I'm giving you mine. I think that there's some shady stuff going on. So I'm happy to see the lawsuit against the prescription diets. The other thing that has me really, really worried is Mars Food Company buying up so many pet food companies, buying up so many veterinary clinics, veterinary diagnostic labs, x-ray companies. There's going to be a monopoly as far as the care of our pets. And I'm worried. And I'd be interested to know how many of you go to veterinary clinics that are part of a big chain. So Blue Pearl, VCA, Banfield, some of the smaller ones, VetCor. How many of you go to those types of clinics? How many of you are still going to an independently owned clinic? They are predicting that within 1 to 2 decades, there will be no independent veterinary clinics. It will all be corporate owned. And frankly, I'm glad I'll be retired by then. It scares me. And I'm actually very, very happy that neither of my children wanted to go into the field. It would have been so easy for me to just, move my clinics over to one of them, have them follow in my footsteps, have them take the same kind of care of my patients that I have for the past 35 years. But it's not going that way. It's heading a different way, and it's scary to me. So if you think about pharmacies, it used to be the mom and pop pharmacy. I remember going to the small town pharmacy on the main street in our town here in Woodstown when I was in high school. I remember as a small child going to the small pharmacies in Pittman, and they still had the soda shops in them where you could pull up to the counter. And, I'm really dating myself now, which is a little bit scary. But you don't have that now. You have CVS, you have Walgreens, you have big chains, you have big box stores for everything. We have Walmart. I think it's scary, scary, scary. VCA, they're one of the biggest chains in the country. It's Blue Pearl, owned by Mars now. When they did that interview the other night on that TV show in Florida, I was the independent veterinarian speaking out against the product. And if you notice, the person speaking for the product in both Atlanta and in the Tampa shows were both from big corporate veterinary clinics. And part of that is corporate says, hey, this is what we sell. This is what you get to sell. I worked for an emergency clinic, 20 years ago. I worked in emergency medicine for 10 years, and I absolutely loved it. This expo, I don't think so, Hala, but the one that I was at in Lehigh Valley last week, they were doing that. Crap, I lost my chain of thought. Honey, what was I talking about before that?
The big chain pet stores, vet clinics.
Man, I totally lost it. Anyway, I see your things, and then I answer them, and then I'm gone. And my connection's a little weak, so we're probably fading in and out a little bit too. I know. I worked in emergency medicine for 10 years. And the emergency clinic, I loved it. It's, a type A personality, emergency is really fun. There's 16 things waiting in the waiting room, and they are all ridiculously sick, trauma cases, all kinds of stuff. You want me to take her? Abby is complaining that she's not up with everybody else. Trauma cases, you've got all these people waiting, and you're sitting there going, oh my God, who do I take care of first? And you run in a bunch of directions, and I had really good technicians, and that's when I learned to use my technicians, because they were just as good as I was, and they could get an awful lot of work done. And I absolutely loved it. And then one day the boss came in and he said, we've sold to corporate. And he was gone. And we then worked for a corporation. And corporation came in and they did some really horrible things. Those of us who had been there for 10 years, we had retirement accounts. They were gone, wiped out. We were basically told, nope, that's not our retirement account. You don't have one with us. You get to start over. And oh, by the way, you have to be here for 4 years before you're vested and have it. Well, that sent a bunch of us a little bit crazy. And then we'd come into work. So I work on Sunday. It was the end of the week. Sunday was always the busiest day. And I'd come in and my technicians would look at me and say, we have 6 bags of IV fluids left. And I'd say, what do you mean? They said, we had our quota for the week. We're out. Try to run an emergency clinic with no IV fluids. As far as the drugs that we were allowed to use, it was what corporate picked. We had no say. And so as you might imagine, we all left. And I would say of the 10 veterinarians that I worked with, 9 went out and opened their own practices within a month, because none of us wanted to be dictated to how we could practice medicine and what drugs we could use and how, things were going to work. And so having been through that, maybe things have changed in the last 20 years. I don't know, but I still worry about corporate medicine. I do know that veterinarians who work for corporate are basically graded on how many vaccines they sell, how many lab tests they sell. They basically have a cookbook. So if a dog comes in with blood in its urine, this is the set of testing that has to be done. This is the food that should be prescribed. These are the things that need to be done. And it's a cookbook. Makes it really easy to practice medicine when you don't have to know anything, and you can and I'm not saying that those vets don't know anything. Believe me, they're very bright. But I don't want to have a cookbook that tells me how I have to do everything. And what they say is that they they're measuring a standard of care to make sure that everybody is at the same standard and everybody is up to the same standard. There is something good about that. Which corporate bought your hospital? I'm not going to say, because it was 20 years ago, and I've actually met quite a few people. It's a smaller chain, and I've actually met quite a few people from that corporation recently, and they've changed the way they do things, thank God. When I actually talked to one of the executives with the group, and he said to me, oh my God, that clinic was the biggest disaster. It was one of our early ones, and believe me, we do not want to lose $3 million every time we buy a clinic, because it went under. The clinic actually went under, the emergency clinic, because all their staff left. And so they learned a very hard lesson. I kind of cheered, but they learned a very hard lesson that you don't treat people that way and that you don't run a clinic that way. So I'm not sure how they're running things now, but I know that they're not doing what they did 20 years ago because it was a hard lesson to learn. So if you go to a corporate clinic and you like them, that is absolutely fine. Some of you don't have a choice. That's the only thing that's available to you. I'm going to hold out and be a private clinic for as long as I can. One of the problems for us as practice owners, when I go to sell my clinics, new grads coming out of school are $250,000 in debt. And they are not going to want to go that, or they can't get the financing to go into debt to buy a well-established clinic that's been running for 30 years. So it becomes a big dilemma for those of us who are looking to get out under. And like I said, it would have been so much easier to just sell to my children, but I'm really happy that my children are not in the business. And I'm not going anywhere for a while, so you're stuck with me. So I know that makes some of my clients kind of happy because they're a little worried. I'm getting toward that age where I could think about it, but I'm not really yet. So, okay, I'm going back to bed, frankly. It's snowing. I don't have any appointments today because I rearranged everything. I'm going to go back to bed and sleep and hopefully feel better so that we can go load up for the expo later. Have a great day. Tomorrow morning, we're going to be on the road. We have to be at Monkey's house by 9 a.m. We're filming a PBS special at Monkey's house, and we have to be there by 9. So at 8 o'clock, we'll be on the road. So I will try to do an on the road. I will not be driving, even though the camera makes it look like I'm on that side of the car. I will not be driving, but we will do that. And maybe I can, while we're filming the PBS special up there, maybe I can have Hugh get a little bit of footage. I will say that my phone does not like the cell signal at Monkey's house. So if we do film anything, it'll probably have to be just video and then uploaded later. So I don't know if we can get anything live from there. Thank you for the get well wishes. I'm going to go snooze, and I'll talk to you tomorrow morning. Oh, yeah, Hugh's going to show you our wonderful outdoor land. You're still attached to me. It's a bit of a whiteout out our window. It was pouring rain when we got up this morning, and then it turned into sleet, and now it's very pretty, especially if you can stay inside for a while. She needs her sleep. You guys are wonderful. And we've got the kitty, and the dogs are already back to snoozing. They'll be more than happy to go get in bed. We've got the minis locked in the barn, because you know what? They're not very bright. It was pouring rain, and they were standing outside. Go figure. I don't know. Okay, soon back to full health. I don't know. It might require a trip to the Caribbean. I think I need sunshine and vitamin D. So maybe you'll get a Facebook Live from there one morning as a surprise. All right, have a great day. I'll talk to you later.